Hello and welcome to the Recursive podcast. My next guest started her career in journalism, but later on switched paths from media to property management and entrepreneurship. Galia Jordanova is the co-founder of a tech company which tries to reinvent the way people buy and manage properties. Gaida.AI deploys technology to simplify the process of buying and managing your property and save people money on mortgages. Galia Jordanova, welcome to the Recursive podcast.
Great to be here.
It's something that we have in common here, of course, is the journalism. You started with it, but after that became an entrepreneur. Are there some skills from your journalism background that are very useful or just useful in your current roles?
I would say so, even though it's difficult for me to distinguish whether it's because it was my first job or whether it's because of the skill set that was developed and it would be beneficial at any point in life. But I would say that there are several things, and the first one definitely for me would be the respect for deadline. And it's not only respect, but it's also I'm getting hyped because of tight pressure and the desire to finish something rather than finish it perfectly. This happens to be quite useful in a startup where you have lots of things to do and you're out of resources all the time. Then another thing would be the curiosity for people and trying to understand where they come from in the sense of drivers' motivation and what actually makes them click and do more. And I think that's quite useful if you want to inspire or lead people at some point in your life. And then the third one would be something that I definitely admire everybody who is having this role successfully in life, and this is the storytelling part. So you as a good example in that sense would definitely see it that when people are able to give a good story, to deliver a good story, they actually can move mountains with the ideas they have.
Absolutely. I heard two main points here: working under pressure and caring about people.
Yeah, you can say that.
Awesome. What led you to this very unpopular decision to switch your background and the way that you're developing yourself as a professional in such a radical way, from journalism to business?
I did make a few changes in my life, a few turns which were quite sharp. I moved from journalism to business, and then from business to entrepreneurship, and not only entrepreneurship but also tech, which I think is a completely different story. And I was, at each point in my life, I was driven by the necessity of doing so rather than any kind of visionary or bravery or, I don't know, curiosity, because I was working in a newspaper, and I don't think when was the last time you saw a newspaper, but I found it quite hard to explain to my kids what a newspaper is, and we saw a piece of paper in a restaurant where they were wrapping the food in a funky way. So this was the first touch of my kids with that kind of media. So I happened to be in a newspaper when newspapers were disappearing. So it was obvious for me that I can't project myself further in time in such a role. And then I moved to property management, specifically in shopping centers. And when was the last time you went to a mall? So each time I was switching careers, I was choosing something that made me feel less relevant, if that's the word. And then I got my business education, which was supposed to give me a good projection of my bright future. And even though I felt like I'm excelling in roles I had, it didn't feel like I have my place reserved, if you know what I mean. So it felt like I'm a dino. And it felt like I need to basically find the thing that will be here to stay, and I want to be part of it. So this was briefly how my brain was working at the point when I was switching.
The way that you approached the problem was amazing when I was preparing myself for the interview and realized that you didn't have this very smart idea that you're totally hyped about and start working on it. It sounded like a very good plan. Who are we as a team, me and my co-founder, your partner, and what are we good at? What are the problems that we can help get solved? And which one is the one that we really would like to work on, not to get a dino in a dying dino world, but to be someone that's disturbing and creating something that really works and is here to stay. So me, myself, being a wannabe entrepreneur.
You are.
Yeah, I might be, but not with the successes that you guys are having and the tech, especially in tech. But I'm just making my small, tiny steps here, but learning from the best and learning different approaches. So you gave a very good context about how important timing is and how important it is to make a good plan when switching a career path for the third time or whichever number of time it is. How did the MBA in INSEAD help you? Did it help you in any way to make better decisions in terms of business and entrepreneurship?
It broke me and it rebuilt me, basically. And I'll come back to that. But before that, I just wanted to touch upon what you just mentioned about success, when you were saying how you measure success. And this is something I'm really thinking a lot about lately, because Gaida is already 5 years old. And during these 5 years, we've pivoted 3 or 4 times. So change is a big word in my life, not only personal change in terms of how many times I change careers, but also how many times our company changed. Basically, our mission changed, our vision changed, and everything that follows. And what strikes me the most is that success is a moving target, and that at the start we were having this first product of ours, which was used by several big players in the market, and people were saying, it's not really success because it's only a few players that use it, and it's not really mass. And then we've created Enoki, which is a real estate platform, and people were using it. And the remarks were, yeah, but it's not really making money, it's not profitable. And then we started to make profit, and people were saying, yeah, but it's not 6 digits. And then we started making 6 digits, and the comments were, but it's not really international because it's only in Bulgaria. Like, who really cares about this market? And then we tried to go to Poland. Poland didn't work, but even if it did, I'm sure that somebody would be saying, yeah, but it's Poland, it's not really the US market. So what is really success at the end of the day? And I'm not saying that we are successful. We definitely are very far from where we wanted to be and where we project ourselves. And my personal perception is so far from what I'm really achieving in life that I need to merge those at some point to be in peace with myself. But I would say that the new definition of success for me is closer to peace than to really achieving a target that's moving all the time and you never get there. So sorry to turn completely in a different direction from your question about INSEAD. I'm definitely gonna move to that, but when you said that you're defining success differently and you are not reaching the success that you see others reaching, I think that in your game you're acing it completely, and I'm really not astonished, but thrilled to see where you're going with your work. So back to INSEAD. INSEAD brought a lot of smart people in my life. I felt like somebody warned me about that when I was having the interviews at the start before I was accepted. One of the guys that interviewed me was a very successful entrepreneur, and he has $1 million business in 7 countries. And he said the thing that he felt was that he was a fraud all the time. And he warned me that probably it's going to happen to me as well. And it definitely did. So I felt like fraud. I failed 2 exams, which people say never happens at INSEAD. Everybody passes the exams, and I did fail 2 exams. It made me study a lot, but to rebuild what was happening in terms of academia. But what was really crucial for me at that point in life was that I met so many smart people which didn't stop they were learning all the time. They were achieving tremendous goals. They were building startups. One of my classmates has a textile empire in Canada, and she got funded while she was pregnant second time with twins in the 8th month of her pregnancy. So imagine the superhuman human being that she is. So you get inspired, you get humiliated, you get humble, and you get new targets. You have new goals in life.
Yeah, imposter syndrome settles in as soon as you have something that's feels like success, but you're like, am I like cheating someone? Am I like not?
It's a story, right? I know we can tell a story that's really, it sounds like we are killing it, but I think the authentic story is that you feel like you're killing it sometimes. Most of the time you feel like you could have done better, and a lot of the time you feel like you're definitely a huge failure, and you need to go and grow tomatoes somewhere, and you're going to be excellent in that.
I really admire that you mentioned that success is like the peace of mind and this calmness that settles in. I realized that probably like 8 years ago, that my happiness is not related to anything but my calm state and peace of mind. Like if I'm doing what I want to be doing, and if I'm getting fulfillment out of it, this makes me happy. And this is a part of my own definition of success. So thank you for mentioning it. And like numbers.
And now that there's some another ingredient which is quite crucial, it's the people you are surrounded by. So people you attract, people you can retain in your life, and being lucky to have smarter, kinder, and successful people around you definitely makes a big difference. So this is the other part that basically makes the true definition of success and happiness, for me at least.
One thing that's huge in my life is courage. And you mentioned that you failed in exams that no one is failing at.
Accounting.
Yeah.
I
think I also failed accounting in university, but MBA compared to my university is nothing alike. But how do you bring yourself together? What kind of courage is it required to get yourself together and say, okay, I failed, nothing happened, I can do it, and then get yourself back on track? That's tough.
I go through a cycle, actually. It's never like failure is big, whatever the failure is. Okay. And then I need to go through a cycle which acknowledges the fact that I really hate it when people come and, like close people would come and say, it wasn't really a failure, because compared to John or whoever that is, you did well. Actually, I need for me and to people around me to accept that it was a failure, and we know we're never gonna do it again, and we know that it happened because of this and that, which I didn't prepare for, or which I wasn't smart enough, or I was naive, or whatever the case. And then going through that cycle allows me to then come the next day and say, okay, so I thought I was there, I'm actually here, so let's climb. And from the moment you accept it and people allow you to go through that mode of unhappiness and lack of satisfaction, I think it's only climbing. And climbing is business as usual. It's not really different from whether you started from here or from here. It doesn't make a big difference as long as you realize that that's the path.
You said that it's important that your closed ones are accepting, okay, it's a failure. Let's say, okay, own it, and then keep moving. You have chosen your co-founder to be your partner. So is this making it easier or harder?
I have a few co-founders, actually.
Yeah.
So we are a big.
Started off with, I don't know, 2?
We started at 4 people at the start, continued 3 of us, 1 technical, 1 business, 1 product. But my husband, which I think you are talking about, is helping throughout the whole. So he was the crucial part of the team, which was there without being there. So he has this very intense career himself. He used to be a business consultant at that point of time. So he was traveling to working in London. He was traveling all the time. And nevertheless, he was the one helping with everything that I was basically crushing during my work. So it's a few roles that he was having for me. One was just as a business person to help me, sense check stuff. But then more than that, he was the one who was giving me the courage that basically mistakes will be done and that's fine. And he was the one also living with the unhappy me, because when you're in front of people in the office, you kind of keep straight face and keep the mood on. But when you go home, you can have a completely different mood and state of mind. And I think that's the heaviest of the three to carry. So I'm really grateful and lucky to have him.
You mentioned that you have different co-founders in different fields. You were running a tech startup without having a tech background, but on yourself. What would you advise people in similar positions when they're entering a company which is tech and they have no technical background? Or what would you advise yourself actually if you can go back in time?
It's going to be very similar to what I'm going to tell people, although it really depends on their motivation. So from the start of our journey in entrepreneurship with technology, I knew I want to stay there. I want to stay there forever, basically, because I was meeting smart people. I was talking and brainstorming about interesting problems. So it felt like a place where you have a very long path to develop. Yourself and people around you would be on constant training on steroids, basically. So I knew it's something I really want to be into, which is different from a mindset where somebody comes to make some cash and get out. So I'm not sure what's relevant for the second example. If somebody is just here opportunistically to build something and sell it in a couple of years, which is also possible nowadays. But definitely if somebody wants to go in that field and stay there, I would advise them not to listen to people who say they shouldn't touch code, they shouldn't bother to go deeper into anything which is more technical, because they kind of have a different strength, or they have a different role, or it's too late, or it's too complex, or it's waste of time, these were the things I was hearing in the first years. Basically, don't go there. It's not for you. It's going to be boring. It's going to be, it's overcomplicating stuff. You have a role. Whenever you're switching from your role to learn something there, you're basically wasting time for the company as a resource of the company yourself. And I think that's wrong. And I was very lucky to have teammates, people in the team who actually went out of their way, and we were staying late nights after 10 p.m. In the office. So they were showing me how things work. We were basically writing code. I was at the start, I was just looking at them writing code, and then I started to play with it a little bit, slowly, and this actually strengthened my passion for the field. And I know I'm not going to be a strong performer in that field, but I have a much deeper understanding of how things work, how teams work, how the minds of those people work, which makes me a better business person in the role of the company I have chosen.
Brings back memories to two of my probably most favorite Formula One drivers of all times that were spending time in the garage to understand how cars work better and improve on them. So
who
it's
are they?
Niki Lauda and Ayrton Senna.
Okay.
So it's amazing to know that there are leaders that are putting in time to understand better how things work, so they can be better leaders by understanding in detail what happens underneath them. which is it's a great advice.
I think lots of people do it, but I think people are ashamed to confess how junior they look or feel or are in new fields. And I think this is related also to the whole idea of being ready to change all the time, because I think our life, more than lives of people before us, will need us to develop skills to adapt to new reality and new roles and new companies and new way of living. So I think big part of this is the fear of showing that you're not really smart or you're not really as good as other people, especially if there are people in your team. And you can imagine that if we sit and have a business conversation, I'm going to look one way. And then if I go and ask stupid questions about, I don't know, about push and pull on GitHub, it's obviously going to put me in a very weak position. But I think this is also part of you being authentic and showing that you care and you want to be somewhere else. And people help you when they see that. They respect it.
I had an amazing conversation with, back in the days, the leader of Uber's engineering team in Sofia, Alex Popov. And he was telling me about the servant leadership and a command and control way of leadership. And I can't imagine command and control type of leadership saying, would you explain to me what push and pull in GitHub is? Because it's some kind of an ego game that you're pointing fingers and saying, yeah, we're going there, you do your job and let's go there. So I really like the servant type of leadership. It's like, how can I help you and can you explain how this works, and you guys own this process. If I can support you with anything, I'll let you do it. Alex
is one of the most inspirational people I have met on my journey, and he's the one I've met almost at the start when I was shooting code emails so we basically came back from London with one of my co-founders, and we thought it's going to be super easy to start a company. He's like, you just come and people just gather around you, it's going to work. And I remember our first meetups where we went. So he's a technical person, but no network, completely no network in Sofia. So we came and there were some meetups, and I was smart enough to stay by the pizza because I believe people will come and I can talk to them because pizza is there, but they didn't eat. Like when I was staying there, even the pizza trick didn't work. So at some point I was just shooting cold emails to people, and people didn't want to be reached at that. So basically LinkedIn is, I don't know, why do they have profiles if they don't want anybody to ever reach out? But Alex was one of those guys, and he actually replied and we met, and we started a great, I would say, friendship since then. So he's one of my mentors and also an investor in the company, and I'm super lucky to learn from him every day.
Would you imagine this happening in like a market like the States, reaching out to one of the successful people in the field and then getting mentorship and help?
But this is crazy in Bulgaria as well, because I remember that I was telling one of my engineers at that point, and he knew who Alex is, obviously. And he was like, he's never going to meet you. And I was like, he's going to meet you. No way. No way. Why is he meeting you? Because he actually thought that these people are like gods. They're not reachable. You can't really just throw an email and meet them. Actually, I don't know if it's going to happen in the US because, again, because of I'm privileged, so I can't really say much about my qualities here, but rather it's the brands on my CV and stuff, but doors are opening. When I reach out to people, whichever market, let's say Poland, which was, or Iraq, because I was trying to develop business in Iraq long before the tech startups. I remember reaching out to people, and 2 of them replied, and they actually did meet me at the airport, and they took me around Erbil, which was crazy. Just you go there and you meet some random people, and they're not really random. They're smart and nice and caring. So people are open to people who actually know what they want, and they ask for that openly. Too many open.
First habit of the highly effective people is be proactive.
We had a class at INSEAD which was, can you get 50 no's in a day? That was a task. Just ask people stuff and try to get 50 to collect a rejection. So 50 rejections. It's very difficult to get 50 rejections in a day. I urge you to try that if you haven't. You'll be surprised that actually people want to help. You just need to ask.
Yeah, you need to ask. Yeah, that's why being proactive is very, very important.
What do you think about the US? Do you think people are not gonna reply?
No, my point was that Bulgaria is a small market, and when people know each other, the doors are open easily. And also that there's always someone to refer you to, the person that you want to meet. And the third thing is that successful people here in Bulgaria, like namely, I had a conversation with Vasil Terziev, who said, yeah, it's successful people need to make sure that there are more successful people coming behind them. And I've read a case study on Endeavor's worldwide newsletter about Teleric's influence on Bulgarian entrepreneurship ecosystem. And it's huge.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. I think more than 70 companies started off of employees or people related to Teleric, which is huge.
Actually, I'm happy I started with the family of Capital, because this is newspaper I was working for, the daily newspaper which was attached to it. But if I could have chosen differently, Teleric would be the place I wanted. I wish I could start my career. So it would, if you ask me what would have given me a completely different trajectory, I think a place like that.
Yeah, probably in 9th or 10th grade when I was in high school, I met a guy who used to play football with a football team in Druzhba, and he was just like in a regular school, and his name is Hristo Borisov.
Okay.
Now Hristo Borisov is the co-founder of the first Bulgarian unicorn. So
I admire him, and yeah.
This is how small Bulgaria is. We were just going to high school parties, and I never imagined that it is possible. But there we go. We have our own, like Roger Bannister doing what Roger Bannister does, like giving you the good example. So
I don't know him well, but from what's really great to see is that the way I know him, because I've met him several times in events, and also we play tennis at the same place, and our kids go skiing with the same bus. So from the side, it looks like he's a very balanced and complete person. It's not only he's acing his game, but he's also, driving lots of things together, and I really admire that. Yeah,
in Bulgaria, you are. It's these people are within reach. I've also have success stories about Bulgarian companies reaching out to U.S. markets, cold emails like Fight, and we recently had an episode with Galia Jordanova, which was amazing. It's like a Cinderella story there.
Great character. Yep.
He is huge. So my point was that small market, a lot of opportunities, really easier to get it done and start with local product and then scale, because you have all these people that are willing to support you, like Alex and Philip and Vasco and whatever. So first thing that I want to back to our conversation, you wanted to innovate in real estate market. Would you briefly tell me why did you choose this particular type of market to innovate in?
So how we chose it is different from why we chose it.
Okay.
How we chose it was, as you've mentioned at the start, it was more of a equation we wanted to solve. So we've gone on a roadshow to reach out to people who have executive roles in different industries, to ask them what kind of problems are they trying to solve. And then we also wanted to know if they have data, because we knew that if we are to solve a problem, we need to have the data. And then we shortlisted a few ideas, 6 or 7 at that point, and made a workshop. The workshop was attended by all the smart people that we can find, which we can never afford to work with, because we knew that we can't pay them and we can't really have them as employees, but we definitely wanted to hear that, like to drain their brains and to ask them why we can't solve the problems that we have discovered. So the real estate.
Why we can't?
So basically, we have a list of problems.
I just wanted to emphasize this
and then
because it's important.
We know if we have the data. So basically, tick tick.
Yeah.
And then the third one would be, let's find all the smart people
that can kill our idea.
Yeah, and kill it. Like why it's not gonna work. And they were coming up with different reasons. So different ideas, different reasons, and some of them would be legal reasons. Some of them would be just, are you crazy? And some of them would be, you don't have the capacity. And the real estate idea was shortlisted basically after this discussion. The reason was that it's a fat industry, so lots of money in it. It wasn't innovated. So how we buy, if you think about it, how we buy properties have not changed for the last 50, 60 or more years. So same process, lack of data, lack of information. So it's not really data, it's lack of trust. And the biggest question is, how much is something worth? Because when you look at the property, it has so many parameters that it's really difficult to assess that property in a fair way, and then to compare the view of the buyer and the seller. So we thought it's a great thing to touch and to see how it's gonna unfold, and also to check whether the problems we have locally, because we have data, we have big players here, and they're comparably huge even to international standards, and also to understand whether the problems we are solving for them here are problems which repeat themselves somewhere else. So that's how we started, and we developed this. We started with a digital agent. We wanted to mimic the behavior of an agent who cannot serve a customer. So basically the thing is that a lot of people come to check or get information about the property, but there is nobody to serve them because of the big demand and lack of people. So we wanted to mimic this behavior and to see how we can interact with the customer without having a person there until the buyer is ready to really meet an agent. It might sound crazy, but lots of the buyers are in a very early stage, so they are not really ready to...
Yeah. So pre-sale information, how large the property is, all like the data.
Not even that, people come to the market without knowing what they want, or they believe they know what they want, but that's not really what they're going to buy. So if you want to buy something, it's going to be a great house, which looks like, I don't know, something you saw in your childhood or in a movie, or a friend has it, and then you have a very specific requirement about the windows and the kitchen, how big it is and how many bathrooms, and then you have a budget, and then you have stuff, but you start there, and the chances are you're not going to buy that at the end. You're going to evolve by looking into different properties, and agents know that, so they don't want to work with people at the very early stage because it's going to take 6 months or 12 months to get the customer ready to actually make a decision about a deal. And there is a very interesting question here, which agents usually ask people: if I find the perfect property for you, would you buy it today? If it's the first thing that you're going to see. And if you're honest with yourself, probably you would say that you're not going to buy it because you don't know if there is something better which you haven't seen yet. So there was a need for something to understand the customer, profile the customer, predict this evolution, and then guide the customer until the time when a person needs to jump in and start serving.
Yeah, as a person that's been through this, what you're explaining in the last year, because I bought my first home, and I use this. I knew about this anchoring, so my agent bringing me to a place, so I can anchor my expectations towards it, and I cheated it by talking to agents. What should I do first? And they told me, go big, look for places that you are never going to buy. So you can set your expectations high, but you know what comes at what price. And
do you change your budget then? Because that's what happens when people start like that. Usually you...
So my budget, we went 25% over budget just to see what is there on the market.
Okay.
We were looking at, like, let's say 200,000 K. And then we were looking at properties that we didn't like. And then suddenly the perfect thing appeared below our budget.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So and everything happened in 1 month. So it was really quickly and really it was like out of this world, and probably it's like outlier fact, but I really understand what you're saying. It's like there's no data about the apartments. You have to have a lot of things in mind before being able to say, okay, this is our place, let's buy it. And for me, it was
you're in the
timing.
tail, so people like you make me, what's the word? Take my meaning away, because the whole idea of our business is that we need to help people to reach that point where they actually get the context and can judge an apartment relative to the context. So I'm really happy for your experience. It's really rare, and we wish that it's an efficient market where everybody can set a budget and buy the property that's actually worth that budget, because you also look at it as it's an emotional purchase, but it's also should be a rational one, which you put your money into something that needs to grow. So that's the whole idea of it. We want to be able to provide you all the information about the property, and then to place it in context, so you know if it's good or bad, or how it plays around the other property.
So what you're doing here is deploying artificial intelligence to evaluate and compare?
No. And the reason to say no is that, so at the very start of the company, I was really very eager to put labels and to say these sexy words like we have ML and AI, and we had a data scientist from CERN at that point, and all these brands, they open doors and they make you, they make headlines, and they make you make people invite you to different places. But what I told myself for the last years is that actually we don't use anything in particular just because it's funky to use it. And this is what my tech teammates were really strongly passionate about. So we basically solve problems, and we use whatever needed to solve those problems, whatever makes it stable as a solution. So AI, at the essence of it, is lots of data, lots of algorithms. And yes, we do that. But is it AI in the sense people project it when they watch movies? We don't really do that. We just try to collect all the information available on the market, coming from public sources, coming from agents, coming from people who go and take a viewing, coming from the owners, coming from banks, because we now have this product about mortgages, which is amazing, I think. And all of that data allows you to get a 360 view of a property and to make better decisions quicker without having to wait in the market for a year, which usually happens.
See, and everything coming from one place, not from different entities. Great. How do you think that this technology is going to change the real estate market?
Technology in general, I guess, because technology is not really that influential. I wish we can change the market. But
because you just mentioned that you're combining technologies, your tool is the way that you approach the problem, and then that's why I'm forming it like that.
I'm joking. So what I think will happen, what should happen, is that we have more and more information. So we want an efficient market, and we want these markets to move. We want properties to move quickly. It's still going to be a very big purchase, so it's going to be a big financial decision for everybody if you are to buy a home, because there is also a future where people don't own homes, they just use them somehow, or they live in the metaverse, I don't know. But so if you are to buy a home, it's going to be a huge financial decision, so it's going to be stressful. But what you want to be true is that first of all, people believe that the value of a property is within very small margins. So buyer and seller believe in a price which is fair. And in some markets, this happens because of the MLS, which is a big database that allows you to pinpoint and check information about each property. While in Bulgaria, you might have a 100%, 50%, 60% difference between what what the market thinks and what the seller thinks. So there is not going to be a deal there. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is access to capital. And then in both cases, you need technology to allow for people to collect a lot of information and to be able to price properly. And then also to allow for users to access financing, which will allow them to have the property they want and they need. If it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for a person that's been through this. And then this is going to make the real estate market move quicker.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you briefly describe like the necessity of pivoting in order to reach where you are at the moment? So what made you pivot first time, second time? Like not into huge detail, but just so we can mark it.
For me, it's very natural to try to find the path that makes something better, the life of the company, the life of the customers. So obviously everything that you deploy, everything that you show to your customers is a version of something. So you want the feedback, and it's a constant loop where you're learning what's working, what's not, whether you guessed their need or did you got it correctly the previous time. So this is part of to me that's the only way for us to be a meaningful company, because we actually want to listen and we want to use that. And I've heard lots of remarks that pivoting too often makes you look like you don't really stay long enough in your field, so you can't really go deep and you can't really go big and you can't really go strong, which I get. And definitely consistency is a big part of the game. But in our case, when we developed the real estate property platform, what we saw is that our customers do need other services. So finding the property but not being able to buy it, to purchase it, is a very small part of the whole equation. And also what we saw is that we only control very small part of the journey. So let's say that we have an amazing platform and you come to, and you find 10 properties which you really like and you want to request a viewing. What will happen if the agents on the other side do not reply? What if they don't want to pick up the phone? So this is my customer who just went there and was not happy with the service, and they never say, Enotti is amazing, the agent was lazy. They say, what is this? It doesn't work. Yeah. So it was part of both to try to find the thing that actually clicks and finishes the whole process. So you found the property and now you want to buy it. Plus we want to own the whole cycle of once we get the customer, we want to reach till the end. So we never went that far to have a real estate agency ourselves, because we actually work with the whole market. So we have 1,000 estate agents which are integrated with us. But we did go the whole way to the financing part, where once we get the customer, we profile the customer and we are able to immediately show them the best products and offers for that specific case in the market. And we have the financial consultants in our team, which was possible because we partnered with one of the strongest players in the market. So we now have the expertise to advise them on financial products, plus the technology which allows it to give this consistent quality and speed of the service. So you are sure that you're getting the best deal out of all banks all the time, Constantly, yeah. It's not 9 to 5. It's around the clock. Plus, once you sign a deal with the bank, you stay on a constant monitoring, and we are able to tell you when is the time to remortgage. So you never stay with those conditions for 30 years because market changes and you don't want to waste money, but you're not going to be there to check it yourself, being busy with other things in life.
One of the extraordinary things that I got amazed by getting myself prepared for today is the fact that you didn't start the company. You started the company before having your second child. So it's like in between your kids. So many of the people that have been here and on my other podcasts are comparing having a startup like having another baby. So would you agree that having a startup is like having a third baby?
I think babies are easier to have than startups, to be fair, because if we are to compare, it's a physical challenge to have a baby in the sense of you don't sleep enough and things happen, so you are kind of busy, while the startup is a mental challenge, constant mental challenge, where you need to be on top of your game, and this is, at least in the phase we are with my kids currently, it's different, but and I would say that I did spend more time with the startup than with the baby, so this tells you a lot about my parenting skills, and happily for us, my husband is helping a lot, so yep.
My favorite quote, it's of course a joke, but a favorite nonetheless, by Raichev, about telling me about how...
Is he a father? I didn't know.
He's not a father, but he's a father of a space tech company.
I know this part. I didn't know he's a father.
Have you heard this joke about having a space tech is like being a baby all over again?
No.
Wake up at 5 and you cry.
Okay, it's a good one.
It's an amazing one. Nevertheless, what did parenting taught you about running a business, or vice versa? What did having a business taught you about parenting?
It's in the same road of reinvention, because the last 5 years were, I think I'm a completely different person. I don't know if it's after the babies, after the company, after the combo, or something, or just aging. But I choose my battles. I know I'm not going to win all of them. This is with the kids, definitely, and it's also in business. And also I know that I can't do anything with force. It just doesn't work, especially with the kids, but also with business. In business, I'm trying to give arguments and to give if I want something to happen, I really need to be able to convey a message or give all the information and context which will make the other party see why this is good for us. And it needs to be good for us. It can't be just beneficial I can't push anybody, even a 5 or 4-year-old in my case, to do stuff which they don't want to. So if I'm not able to persuade them in an authentic way, it's gonna last minutes, and then it's gonna be back to the chaos.
Don't listen to what I say, look at what I'm doing.
Also that, but yeah, lots of talking and lots of arguments to make people see why you want things to happen. So communication is in everything.
Yeah. And because communication is in everything, how do you approach like choosing and having members in your team, hiring, getting them on board?
This was the hardest, and it's still the hardest thing for me to find the right people, to incentivize and motivate and inject the passion that I need them to have to be on the same journey, and how successful we are, time will show, but I'm definitely surrounded by great people in the company at the moment, and I think that the things that we really understood that we value are related to the autonomy of people. So people need to be able to make lots of decisions, and they need to be they need to have the team spirit. So great performance, which can't be part of a team, don't really work for the company. And I'm watching lots of sports movies in this regard. I love sports movies. I think I was born to be an athlete. And I really get inspired and hooked by people who can make a strong team and then well-performing team on top of that. But strong is the first thing that I believe is
a movie
needed.
that comes to mind?
Moneyball 2 days ago, just
Awesome.
replay, yeah.
In that regard, what do you think is more important for the success of a startup? The founding team or the product?
Does ever anybody say the product?
I take your answer for...
No, I just wonder if there is a case where the product would be more important than the team, and I...
Yes, some people fall in love with their ideas, you know.
Oh, you should. You definitely should, but it's like... Or maybe if it's a product where one person can... You don't need a team. Not sure how it works, but yeah, team 100 times.
Okay. What do you think is the reason why there are fewer women in entrepreneurship? Generally in entrepreneurship.
Are they? Because because I'm surrounded by... If you think about hairdresser and the fruit and veggie shop and then the...
Bakeries.
Yeah, lots of places where you see women are running or the kindergarten, or I can think of
Schools.
lots of examples.
Yeah.
But maybe less in tech. What I think is crucial, at least what I think will help, I don't think it's a matter of not being active enough or smart enough or brave enough. I think it's about not having network to support you. And I think it takes a very strong, committed partner who is ready to drink the bitter pill with you. It's a Bulgarian phrase, but whatever. So be part of the downs. And it takes a strong mother behind you to help you raise the kids and help with the stuff that you're not going to be present for. So you definitely need a village to raise the kids, but also to have a startup.
Yeah. Yeah, support is amazing and very, very underestimated. And I really don't think that they are self-made, successful people. There is always someone backing you up, and which is great.
And there is some guilt there, which I think is most of the women are raised with the perception that they need to be the one who take care for the kid, who take care for the house, who take care for, I don't know, family members and stuff. And I think we can help, and we can do a better job to help these women see that actually it's everybody's business just as much as theirs. I mean, shouldn't be guilt tripped if they work, because I've heard those messages of, did you not care enough about your kids to stay at home and take care of the baby when it was a baby? And I did care about my kid. I just wanted to give her and him a good example of a happy parent.
I really like this conception about shared parenthood and shared, like, taking care of home and shared whatever. It's two people's game. Like, you do it together. And I can't imagine being, probably starting my own journey, I was thinking, okay, what kind of father would I want to be one day when this day comes? And I was thinking, I would like to spend more time with my kid, not be 24/7 recording podcasts. But now I can speed up the game so I can have more time when the time comes. What has been the most rewarding part of this entrepreneurial journey so far? It seems like it's a roller coaster.
It is. And it's great. I mean, that's why we're here, right? If you want to...
Yeah. That's why you said you
predictable life.
You wanted to continue doing it forever. You said something. You wanted to be included in this.
I know I'm in my. This is the field I want to be playing at. But the thing I love about it is the people I meet. It's amazing. If you imagine a corporate career where you, I don't know, meet clients and you meet some coworkers, it's a very slow-paced environment where it's a safe and slow-paced environment. I think entrepreneurship is like a mountain in a sense, where you see how, because it's very chaotic and it holds a lot of surprise and risks and, as you said, fluctuations. You can see the character, your own character, but also the character of others in a light which is very different from the one in a safe environment. So you connect faster and you learn faster, and this is thrilling.
Awesome. Yeah, I was thinking comparing my corporate career compared to what I've been having in the last 4 years since I quit. And the one word that describes my environment is energy. Okay. Because people in this bubble, it is a bubble, have this energy that they're changing the world, or at least making it better for tomorrow. So it's
a crazy look in the eye.
Crazy, just drink your beer and watch the game. How do you personally unplug? Because it requires a lot of physical and emotional resources. This whole entrepreneurial, and apart from parenting, apart from family, and friends and social life and whatever, game.
I don't have a social life, so this won't work. But
I'll take this for.
I do lots of sports, so I try daily to do something. And my recent passion is conditioning training. So I don't know if you have tried them, but it's really intense. So short amount of time and very intense. And I try to have I'm gamifying everything which I like in life. So I was having this very non-digital old calendar, paper calendar with dots, where I can see all the days I went to the gym to do conditioning, and it was 50 days in a row lately.
Impressive.
So it really gave me the sense of I'm in control. I've got this, and I'm reading. This is the other thing. I have a very long list. My friends are laughing at me because this is a very long list. I know I can never go through the whole list because I'm slowly moving. But if I get hit by a truck, this is my dream recovery list. So basically I'm going to be in bed for, let's say, 2 years because the truck hit me. And this is my plan, the books in that list.
How long is the list?
It's, I don't know, 200. I'll show you after.
Okay.
200 something. I'm just adding.
Okay, let me give you a hint. There's a tool that I use. I haven't been using in the last couple of months. Probably it's now part of my life, but it's called Don't Break the Chain. Okay. It's a concept by Georgi Nenov.
Okay.
And the idea is that you put a cross on a calendar. It comes in digital too, but it's, like you said, having it in an analog way in front of you, it looking way better. When you put cross in a calendar, and then all the crosses become like a chain of X's. Okay. So it has only 2 rules. Don't break the chain. And even if you do, don't break it twice in a row. Never break it twice in a row.
That's great.
Which is, highly admire people that are gamifying. I'm gamifying my steps. I'm gamifying my trainings and everything. And I'm like, in case of conditioning, I only do conditioning when preparing myself for tournaments in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by itself, it's very, very demanding physically. And I tend to love this part of my life, that every day starts with a training.
Filipov, I saw him on your podcast as well. So he was the one that helped me a lot. He's developing this amazing product for working moms. And
he has pivoted too, by the way.
I think the new name is Heyday.
Yeah, so, but previously it was Kairos.
It was at Kairos, exactly. So he helped me a lot there because we were discussing how I organize my time and stuff like that. And he was like, where is your me time? So basically, where is my me time? And I was like, it's happening. It's just, where I find some space. And he's like, you're definitely not having it in your calendar and in your to-do list. And then he pushed me to book some spots, and now it's a constant time slot, which is reserved for my training or for a book. And this is happening once it's in the calendar. So I really like this approach of me being important enough to be on my calendar.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that's booking his that time for relaxing. It's like working on the rest. It's literally says working on the rest, which is great. I tend to use my calendar a lot also to organize my days, and I'm very happy that busy people like you really are going back to what's normal, like taking care of yourself. The captain should be in good health and stable mental condition to keep the boat going in the right direction. So amazing that you're doing it too. Galia, it has been an absolute pleasure having this discussion with you. It felt like it was like 10 minutes, but time has passed, like an hour or so. And as a final question, I would like to ask, what would you like to be remembered for?
You just showed me that I need to be very brief on that.
Yeah, no, not necessary.
Well, then a longer answer. I come from a small town where what people say, what people think about you is really important. It's huge. Like name is a big thing there. And I spent lots of years and it took me traveling, meeting people, talking to people to try to unlearn how important it is what people say about you. So I definitely want to be free of the concept of constantly thinking that people will be judging my activities and my decisions and myself. So today, but even more so when I die, I really want to be remembered as somebody who didn't care of what people would think about me. I just want to be in peace, with myself. So if my values and in my beliefs and my understanding for life are intact, it means that it was a life well spent. So I don't have bigger ambition than that.
You've also lived in London. Would you imagine being born in London and having the same issues about small community and people knowing you and talking about you?
It defines you so much where you're born, I believe, at least where you were raised. I was talking to a friend of mine, she's American, and we were discussing Ukraine and Russia, and she was like, I don't know why, guys, you're so moved by what's happening there. I mean, it's a war, there were many wars, so she can't really get the concept of fear, of brotherhood, of empathy, which goes between our countries, I mean Bulgaria and Ukraine, obviously, just because she was born in a country which was safe. She said, I never worried about anything until I got to the age of 25. So she's my age now, and she obviously had a very peaceful and rich life, let's say, life which was full of. So said in different words, definitely, if I was born in London and my daughter is born in London, so she's going to have a completely different projection towards what we're discussing now, I guess. Definitely, I would have been a different person, but I'm not.
Yeah, here you are today, back in Bulgaria, making change. Thank you, Galia. It was been an absolute pleasure having you today with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure indeed.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, we welcome Svetoslav Dimov, the co-founder and CEO of Gaida.AI.BG, the biggest IT community in Bulgaria.
The thing about entrepreneurship is that you can't afford yourself to be demotivated. If you are easily demotivated, then you won't be in entrepreneurship. Actually, the one of the hacks of entrepreneurship and the must-haves is learning how to go through the downs and don't fall apart. When everything is falling apart, you need to stay stable. And now with the 10 plus years of experience, I can manage it because I know it's true, but right in the beginning, it's very hard.
And if you're just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.